Morning fam, how we doing? So just on a day to work where I'm driving to a mental health inpatient unit. I'm a social worker. It's great to look at life in all kinds of different colours, different ways of living, and the different types of people who end up under our care. Now, mental health doesn't discriminate, right? It takes all kinds to have mental health issues. Anyone can get them. Sometimes it's through a crisis, and sometimes it's through years and years of just not looking after yourself, and small things build up to the point that it collapses on the psyche. So in that thought, right, I'm thinking about a problem that I'm currently working with someone, and it spurs on the idea about how the boy is the father of the man. So I thought about just growing up in general, right? And the idea that you have a life plan, you have an idea of who you are, it's sort of just a set of structures that are put in front of you from a young age, but how to build those structures or how to scaffold your life to a point where you can actually be a person that you're proud of is very rarely discussed. Certainly not something that's in a curriculum in school, probably not something, unless your parents are overachievers or aware of this themselves, or work in psychological development or in social work, it's probably not something that they would likely bring up, and same with the discussion of values and things like that. And how you build your life is essentially up to you, but that's not really ever sort of discussed. It's not a known fact that you actually get to be the master of your ship, so to say. You can be whomever you want. And so, as I said before, the quote that the boy is the father of the man, or I guess in today's terms, that the child turns out to be all-encompassing of the adult. The idea of who you are as a young person, the tendencies you have, your personality type, your temperament, all of that, a lot of it is to some extent fixed. A lot of it is to some extent environmental, given to you. It's situational. It's how you are sort of thrust into this world, and you're given these set of tasks to achieve with a set of tools that you don't really know that you have, or you weren't really taught to develop, and you just kind of fumble along the way. And unless you sort of catch onto that thought early and start figuring out, okay, like, what are the tools I've been given? What am I good at? What can I know about myself? How can I learn who I am as a person? Unless that's sort of given to you, point blank range, so that you're aware of it and you know what to do with it, you kind of just fumble through life and grow and move on and I guess figure it out. And some people are better at figuring it out than others, and for those who do, that's great. They go on and they live their lives void of any major mental health issues that lead them to being patients, involuntary or voluntary patients inside a mental health unit. And so with this person that I'm working with and dealing with, and we're sort of struggling along the idea of, I have all these childhood traumas, I have all these issues that are unresolved, and absolutely not belittling the fact that somebody has had a horrendous upbringing. Life is shit at the best of times. But to recognise that obviously, pain can only sort of be felt on the individual level. Like, yes, there's collective pain, there's intergenerational pain, community pains that, trauma bonding, people witness things together, feel through things together. But the fact that, like, your individual pain threshold is yours, and yours alone. And some people can cop it a lot better than others. With that in mind, I suppose having the idea that, you're an individual who has their life journey ahead of them, and how much you're willing to bear, how much responsibility you're willing to take, how much you're willing to learn about yourself and say, all right, like, regardless of the pain that I've had in the childhood, how much of that still dictates who I am today? So how many of my decisions today do I make that are to avenge 6-year-old Matt, or to make 15-year-old Matt proud, or to try and make up for something that 17-year-old Matt stuffed up, and to continually be living today, trying to come to terms with the falls of yesterday, it's a losing fallacy. It's not going to produce the same results as acceptance of what's happened, committing to a future that you can learn from those mistakes. You can absolutely seek counselling, seek retribution, seek good therapeutic intervention to learn and uncover and unfold the issues of what you'd learnt, but in reality to sort of take that in spades and figure out, alright, this is what happens. Today I am inheriting the situation that earlier versions of myself brought me to. So what do I do about it? Do I start off today by complaining? Do I start off today by being upset with where things are at? Do I take stock in knowing, hey, I've already paid the price of that pain, of still going through those beatings, that abuse, that emotional turmoil. I've already paid that price. I've already done that. So what's the lesson that can be learned from here? Is it, I recognize that shit, those are behaviors I don't want to have in myself. What can I do to learn so that I don't do this to my partner, to my kids, to my mates? Or is it something that you take on board to say, okay, that's not who I want to be. Who do I want to be? Great, I actually get to pick that. I actually get to pick who I want to be. And that in itself, the realization of that is incredibly powerful. The understanding that you can decide to be whomever you want to be, in the realest sense possible. Find out where your moral compass is, what your values are. And when I say what your values are, is love and kindness and forgiveness, compassion, are they at the core of the things that you do? Are you a person of integrity? Do you look to weasel out of things and lie and you feel good about that, or you don't think about that at all? Or does that make you sick in the stomach when that actually happens and you think, yeah, I'm not living true to my values if I know, I'm doing things that I probably shouldn't be doing? And although sometimes it's not helpful to think about probably, and you could be anybody you want to be, but you're never going to achieve that, so why even bother? The old saying of try again. You shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon. If you fail, if you don't reach it, you still reach among the stars. Aim high, so that you can at least try to get somewhere. And so with who you want to be as a person, yes, you've inherited a crappy today from an even worse yesterday, but it doesn't mean you have to make the rest of today bad. You look for the good in what you can do today. Recognize that growing up is a long journey, and when you really think about it, how much better would you have been to accept where you are today in a position to move forward than to still struggle with things unnecessarily. And that's the part that I don't get, is that people struggle to accept and people struggle to move forward, and everybody wants to play a blame game and everybody wants to play a woe is me card. And absolutely you can, but to what purpose does that serve you? I'd say if you don't really want to work with me as an inpatient, because you'd rather start sorting things out in life, you certainly can. I see no reason as to why you can't make that change today. So, smile, accept where you're at, and get some of that forward motion going. Have a great day.